I think we're starting Sajda Tilawat. Oh, we started already? No? Starting today. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Read. Chapter with regards to the Sajda Tilawat, right? Bismillah. Okay, before you go there, say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You see, we discussed thus far Babu Wujubi, or rather Sajdatu Sahwi, right? And then we discussed Babu Salatil Maridi. So here the author was saying, actually, we should have bring the two sajdas together, but we brought Babu Salatil Maridi in between. Right? Why? Because to show you that Sajda Sahu and Babus are together. They are both from Samawiya. Illness comes from Allah Ta'ala, and mistake also comes from Allah Ta'ala, understood. So that was the correlation. This is the link between them two. Understood what I'm saying? Logically, it was better to bring the two babs of sujood first. First sajda sahu and sajda tilawat, because they're the same. But the reason why he brought first babu marid before salat tilawat, because the commonality between sajda to sahwi and salat al-marid is that both are things that are one beyond one's control. It's from samawiya. Illness comes from Allah Ta'ala. Mistake also is not an intentional thing. It comes from Allah Ta'ala. Understood that? So there's the link between the order, or rather the wisdom, or the between the order, the tartib of the abwab, right? So interesting. Sajda to tilawat is like salat, in the sense that all the things that are necessary for salat are necessary for you. Like, taharatul makan, taharatul badan, qibla. For the ladies, they must cover their hair, etc., all that type of thing. So it's not any lesser than your normal salah. Although you don't have to stand up and make takbir tahrima and all that type of thing, but just all the conditions are there, right? You won't make it in the sajda makruha. If you read your sajda tilawat in a time that's not makruh, you won't read the time of makruh. And because the tilawat is the sabab, so babu sajdati tilawati as idafatul musabbab is a sabab. You can attributing something to its sabab, right? There's a little bit of a preamble. Okay, Bismillah, start. You can read actually. بعد 10 سجدة في آخر الكعبة والنحل وبني إسرائيل ومريم وأولى بالحج والقرآن والنمل الإسلام والخيل سجدة والنجم وإذا السماء انشقت واقرأ كما كتب في نسخة عثمان رضي الله تعالى وهو المعتمد. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So قال سجود التلاوة في القرآن 14. You got no other left. Right, سجود التلاوة في القرآن, the sajjas of tilawat in the Quran are 14. And here they will explain, must we go through all the ayats, or just, the ayats already? Although it's clearly marked out in the Quran, so it's not necessary. They will just skim over it. So because it's all clearly marked in our Quran, so nobody will miss it. في آخر الأعراف in Surah Araf, وفي رعد in Surah Ra'd, والنحل Surah Nahl, وبني إسرائيل Surah Bani Israel, ومريم, right? والأولى من الحج, the first one in Surah Hajj. The second one is according to Shawafi, not according to Hanafis, right? والفرقان Surah Furqan, Surah Namal, Surah Alif Lam Mim Tanzil, Surah Sad, Surah Hamim As-Sajda, Surah Najm, إذا السماء انشقت and اقرأ باسم ربك الخلق, right? كذا كتب في مصحف عثمان رضي الله تعالى. So these 14 sujood here that I mentioned, like this, it is recorded in the Musaf Uthman radiallahu ta'ala. You know the history of the Musaf Uthman radiallahu ta'ala, that prior to this, the Quran was read according to the discussed in Mishkat Sharif. Ala sab'ati ahrufin, those that joined the Mishkat Sharif lesson. So then, as Uthman standardized it, he made a mushaf that accommodates all the different qira'ats. So exactly like how we've mentioned here, the 14 is mentioned in the mushaf of Uthman, right? So, al-mu'tamad, and this is what is relied upon on the ummah. This is what the ummah accepts, right? Then والسجدة الثانية في الحج للصلاة عندنا. In Surah Hajj on the last page there, before the para, that sajda is not a sajda tilawat, to say that when you recite this, then you must make a sajda. But this is a sajda of salat. That was in this verse, Allah Ta'ala is exhorting you to make your salat, to make your sajda in salah. You understood that? And according to the Shafi madhab, this is it's not a sajda of salah, but it is a sajda of tilawat that you also have to make sajda. Yeah, are you with me? Right. وموضع السجدة في حامم السجدة عند قوله لا يسعمون في قول عمر والمأخوذ للاحتياطي. So they're saying the place of the sajda in Hamim al-Sajda, although they're mentioning this here, but maybe this discussions are not so relevant because it's relevant, but I mean it is clearly marked out in the Kitab, so it makes it easy for us. Remember previously, if you go back in time, forget about the marks of the sajda. The kitab didn't even have the zabar, zair, pesh, like how it's in Urdu, the a'raf, fatha, dhamma, qasra. Forget some of the, if you go further back, it never had the dots. So you have to know all these type of things. But Allah Ta'ala reward the ulama, it made it easy for us to read the Quran by adding the dots and adding the a'rab, say the fatha, dhamma, kasra, and then also the made easy for us by adding the sujood, etc., etc., right? So موضع also where we have to make sajda. So they're making a reference here to, we can say, an اختلاف وموضع السجدة في حامم السجدة in the قول لا يسعمون. So the correct place is that this is where the sajda is, and then obviously you read the end of the verse, and at the end of the verse you make your sajda. Though there will be some explanation that how long you can delay it. You can delay it to one verse after that. You can delay it to a second verse after that, but that will come. But the main thing they're showing you is this is where the actual sajda verse is. La yas'amuna. Right? في قول عمر, and this is from the statement of Umar radiallahu ta'ala, والمأخوذ, and this is what we practice upon, للاحتياطي, this is the most cautious view. Right? So that is just a bit preamble. Now we'll start with the actual text. Bismillah.
الرحمن الرحيم. والسجدة واجبة في هذه المواضع على التالي والسابع سواء قصد سماع القرآن أو لم يقصد، بقوله عليه الصلاة والسلام السجدة على من سمعها وعلى من تلاها، وهي كلمة إيجاب وهو غير مقيد.
Okay, so stop there. So what he's saying, the first thing is, remember we discussed Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wajib means you have to do it. You don't have an option to leave it out. Like how, sunnat, if you leave it out, there's no sin. Here, if you leave it out, there is a sin. You have to make a point of ensuring that you do all your sujood tilawa. Even a nice way to follow it up is maybe like, if you've been neglectful with regards to, obviously the best thing is to do it immediately. A lot of people, they do that immediately. You see they're reading Quran, and in the midst of reading the Quran, maybe even they're sitting and reading, or even in madrasa, you see they're reading, they'll stand up immediately and they will make their sajda immediately. So if you could do that, then you don't have it any qaza on your head, not qaza, but it doesn't become qaza, but if you can make your sajda immediately, all the better, right? Because it is wajib. If you pass away before you made it, then you will be sinful, right? والسجدة واجبة في هذه المواضع. So these 14 places that we mentioned here, right? That the sajda is wajib, right? You have to do it. It's not to say that it's good to do it, and if you don't do it, you won't get sin. You will get sin. Wajib means it's necessary, just that if you deny it, you do not come out of the fold of Islam. That's a different. We discussed this in detail before, right? So interesting. Al-Tali was Samia. So if, for example, somebody is reciting a sajda ayat day, so that person who is reciting the verse, it's wajib upon him, and you're the one who hears him reciting as well. You're the one who hears him. You can. So there is so al-tali was sami, upon the reciter and upon the listener. Sawa'un qasada al-Qur'an aw lam yaqsud. This is interesting. Even though you were not intending to hear that, so you were just passing by. You were sitting in the masjid and somebody recited. Or you were sitting in the madrasa, you were learning, you're doing your hifz, whatever, and then so another student recited the sajda verse, you heard it. So it's not your you're not sitting. What I mean is, like, what is a person is reading Quran and you are sitting and you're listening and you're taking lesson and you're enjoying the recitation, not that. Or maybe even another masala is, you I said, maybe you at home, husband was reading, wife was sitting there, she heard, or vice versa, wife was reciting, the husband heard, etc., etc. So whether you intended or not, you can't say, no, I was just sitting here. I never come here to listen to the Quran. My purpose was not to listen to the Quran, so it's not, no, right? So whether سواء قصد سماع القرآن أو لم يقصد. And why do we say that whether you intend or not, there's no differentiation? It's necessary upon both people. Why? The proof is that لقوله عليه السلام. The proof is the statement of Nabi Sallallahu السجدة على من سمعها وعلى من تلاها. Nabi Sallallahu quite clearly and emphatically said that the sajda ala comes a wujub. Ala sajda is wajib upon sami'aha, the one who hears it, wa ala man talaha, and the one who recited it, right? So we told you وهي كلمة إيجاب. Ala means come, like you say, alayya alfu dirhamin, upon me is 1,000 lizaydin for Zayd. It means I've made compulsory upon myself. Ala counts wujub, right? وهو غير مقيد بالقصد. So they are saying that this hadith, it is not muqayyad with intention. It's not fixed with intention. Nabi Sallallahu said, you never say لمن قصدها, يعني سجدة تلاوة واجب, سجدة تلاوة واجب على من قصد سماعها. You never say it is wajib upon the person who intended to listen to it. You just said you hear it. And there's another principle. I told you, you've done this principle. I'm not sure if you've done it in Usul al-Shashi yet, but al-mutlaqu yajri ala itlaqihi. When something is mutlaq, you just leave it mutlaq. You don't try to restrict it unnecessarily. And just if there's a hadith or another hadith that shows it does need to be restricted. So yeah, it is general that when you heard the verse, whether you intend or not, either way, it will just become wajib upon it, right? So until here, we were discussing just like you're reciting out of Salah. Read the next text, inshallah.
وإذا تلا الإمام آية السجدة سجدها وسجد المأموم معه لالتزامه متابعة. وإذا تلا المأموم لم يسجد الإمام ولا المأموم بالصلاة ولا بعد التحرك عند أبي حنيفة وأبي يوسف. وقال محمد يسجدون.
Okay, interesting. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وإذا تلا الإمام آية السجدة. So here we speak about the scenario we're reading Jamaat Salah, whether it is in the masjid or even is by the house, whether the muqtadi is female, male, husband is reading, the wife is behind, or anybody. Right? وَإِذَا تَلَى الْإِمَامُ آيَةَ السَّجْدَةِ. When the Imam recited a verse of sajda, سَجَدَهَا, you will make sajda immediately. وَسَجَدَهَا الْمَعْمُومُ مَعَهُ. Then the ma'amun, the muqtadi, will also make sajda. Why? لِالْتِزَامِهِ مُتَابَعَةً. Because of him, لِالْتِزَامِهِ, he took upon himself, iltizam, he took upon himself, he he took upon himself following. In other words, when you know, although it's not necessary to make niyat when you start salah, you say, but in your mind, you must have this intention that I'm following this imam. Nawaitu iqtida'a hadha al-imam. I'm going to follow this imam. So when you've made intention, when you join the salah, I'm going to follow this imam. So when this imam makes sajda tilawat, you have to follow him. And besides that also, you heard him reciting the verse. Or even if you never hear him recite the verse, hypothetically, maybe in previous times, and nowadays we have loudspeakers, microphones, but let's say in previous times where maybe there was no microphones, so you'd have a mukabbir. You know, so mukabbir is when you make intiqal maybe from qiyam to ruku, then you have the mukabbir, he will make the takbir, so you don't hear that. So you say, okay, no, but we never hear the height of sajda, so we don't have to know. Still, you have to make the sajda with the imam, because when the imam does something, you have to follow it. Like, I'll give you another example just to emphasize this point here. Like, you know, sometimes maybe the imam, you joined the imam late, you became a masbuk. So the imam made a mistake in the rak'ah that you were not there. So now you say, when the imam makes sajda sahu, yeah, but I don't have to make sajda sahu because I was not with the imam when the imam made this mistake. No, there's no such thing. You still have to make that sajda sahu because you have undertaken to follow the imam. Another example also comes to mind. Like, for example, I told you, you are a musafir and the imam is a muqim. So you say, now after 2 rakats, I'll just make salam and complete my salah because I am a musafir. I don't have to make 2 rakats. I don't have to make 4 rakats. No. Even though you are musafir initially, 4 rakats are not wajib. But when you made intention to follow that imam, 4 rakats will become wajib upon you. You understood that? So when you make niyyah to follow the imam, whatever the imam is doing, you have to do it as well. You have no choice, right? That principle is seen in several other masail, right? So when the imam makes sajda, or rather he's recited the sajda verse, whether you heard him or not, you also have to make the sajda, right? Interesting masala. وَإِذَا تَلَى الْمَأْمُومُ لَمْ يَسْجُدِ الْإِمَامُ وَلَا الْمَأْمُومُ فِي الصَّلَاةِ وَلَا بَعْدَ الْفَرَاغِ إِنَّ أَبِي حَنِيفَةَ. Firstly, remember in the Hanafi madhab, the muqtadi don't recite anything. The preferred, although some ulama, they have given permission for you to recite in the silent salah when the second 2 rakats, but the preferred opinion is in the Hanafi madhab, the muqtadi, when you got the imam, you will not, or she will not, or whoever it is, will not recite behind the imam. Because the hadith is quite clear, man kana lahu imamun fa qira'atul imami qira'atul lahu, right? So you will not recite anything, but a person recited, he didn't know. Sometimes you get these people that they read, they are muqtadi, but they read so loud, they even read louder than the imam. Sometimes they confuse the congregation. Or say maybe the person maybe was a Shafi. Say the person was a Shafi and he was reciting, and then he, as I told you, they read loud. He recited the full ayat loud. He heard it and the imam heard it, right? So what's the maslati? وَإِذَا تَلَى الْمَأْمُومُ لَمْ يَسْجُدِ الْإِمَامُ. When the ma'amun recites lam yasjudil imamu, the imam will not recite anything. Not wala al-ma'amumu, and neither will the muqtadi also recite fi salati, not in salah, wala ba'da al-faragh, even after in the Abi Hanifata wa Abi Yusuf, according to Abu Hanifa and Imam Yusuf, right? وقال محمد يسجدونها إذا فرغوا. Yeah, Imam Muhammad says, when they finish the salah, when they finish make salam, then each one will make the sajda privately, individually, right? Are you with me? So yeah, why Shaykhain is Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Yusuf, why they say you won't make sajda? وَلَهُمَا أَنَّ الْمُقْتَدِيَ مَحْجُورٌ عَنِ الْقِرَاءَةِ. See, they say, look here, the muqtadi is not supposed to make qira'at. I told you, man kana lahu imamun fa qira'atul imami qira'atul lahu. That person who has the imam, then the qira'at of the imam will be a qira'at for him, right? So they say walau anna al-muqtadi mahjurun al-qira'ati, right? The muqtadi, he has been prevented from making a qira'at. لنفاذ تصرف الإمام عليه. Why? because of the effectiveness of the action of the Imam upon him. In other words, he is under the Imam. He cannot do anything on his own. Lafaz means the for the validity for the validity of the actions of the Imam. In other words, the Imam's actions are upon him, not his actions of the Imam, right? And then say, وَتَصَرُّفِ الْمَحْجُورِ لَا حُكْمَ لَهُ. That person who has been prevented from doing something, right? تَصَرُّفِ, his actions, لَا حُكْمَ لَهُ. There is no attention to it. There's no repercussions for it. Like how I told you, just to understand this, Mr. If a woman is traveling with a man, and then they come to a certain place, and here the woman said, I'm going to stay here for 15 days. But the man is Amir. Amir said, no, we're not staying here for 15 days. We're moving on after 2 days. That woman will not become a muqima in that place. She will be so remain a musafira, because the decision is not vested with her. The decision is vested with the Amir as a husband. And it's also with Anas Masla. If the army is traveling, for example, and the Amir say, no, we're going to stay 2 days here. We're just going to freshen up. We're going to water the horses. We're going to feed the horses. And after 2 days rest, we're moving. And this guy said, no ways, I'm staying here. So his intention won't be valid because he can't stay without, even if he wants to stay, he don't have the surprise. So his intention is not of any consequences. He'll still be a musafir there. It's the same thing they're saying here. So they're saying that so وَتَصَرُّفِ الْمَحْجُورِ لَا حُكْمَ لَهُ. That person who has he's been prevented from the side of Sharia. His actions. So what does the actions? So what the Sarf al-Mahjuri? The actions of the one who's prevented. لا حكم له. There's no consequences for it, right? So بخلاف الجنوب والحائض لأنهما منهيان القراءة إلا أنه لا يجب على الحائض بتلاوتها كما لا يجب سماعها لإدام أهلية الصلاة بخلاف الجنوب. So this masla is contrary to the masla of a junub. Junub is a man who is in need of a ceremonial bath. After he has the ghusl has become wajib upon him. Wal haidi, a haida is a woman who's experienced a monthlies. So here also, لأنهما منهيان القراءة. They've also been prevented from reciting. You cannot recite the Quran if you're in halat al-janabat. You cannot recite the Quran if you're in halat al-hayd. Right? So like they are also mahjur. They are also mahjur. But إلا لا يجب على الحائض بتلاوتها. Even if a haida recites something of the Quran, she's in halat al-hayd and she recited, right? لا يجب تلاوتها. By reciting, just so not become wajib. كما لا يجب بس like how when she hears it not become wajib upon her. لإن إدام أهلية الصلاة, because she is not a candidate for salah at this point in time. So it's like directing something to somebody whilst they are not a candidate. Like, I told you, if there's a strange woman walking on the road, you say, you are divorced. She's not divorced because she's not your wife. Yes, that's a different matter. You say, if I marry you, then you are divorced. That's different. But just saying you are divorced, that will have no consequences because she's not mahal. She's not a mahal for your divorce. So same thing here. By a haida reciting the sajda tilawat or hearing it, it will not become wajib because she's not a mahal for that wujub, right? Like how the talaq is not a mahal for a non-wife. So kamala ajibu sima'iha lindam, right? بخلاف الجنوب, but contrary to a junubi because his janabat is arzi. He's supposed to wash up and pray before the next salah. So in this sense, he's different to a haida. Okay, the time is up. We will stop there. We'll continue tomorrow, inshallah. Bas subhanallah wa bihamdihi.